movie opens with an unsettling scene where a young boy is jolted awake in the dead of night. Disturbed by the weird sounds emerging from his mother's bedroom, his discomfort escalates. In the dim light, his attention is drawn to the television, which flickers with static, adding a creepy vibe to the room. This unsettling atmosphere intensifies when a chilling vision manifests in his room, marked by a sinister red glow. The sight of a bloodied hand reaching out towards him from across the room sends him into a state of panic. Desperate for comfort or an explanation, he pounds on his mother's door, only to be met with silence. The tension in this scene reaches its peak and then abruptly cuts to the next sequence. Transitioning to a different setting, the next scene unfolds in a modest local diner. Here, we are introduced to 5 police officers, 𝐂𝐡𝐞𝐤 𝐎𝐮𝐵, Arda, and their colleagues, who are enjoying a casual meal together. The atmosphere is lighthearted, filled with friendship and laughter. The mood shifts, however, as 𝐂𝐿𝐴 shares a story about an encounter with a stunning escort, which takes an unexpected turn when he discovers she is a transgender woman. Despite the surprise, 𝐂𝐿𝐴 recounts that the night continued with them becoming intimate. This story amuses the group, including the restaurant owner's son, who joins in the laughter. 𝐂𝐿𝐴, however, takes offense to the son's reaction, and the situation quickly becomes tense. The owner intervenes in an attempt to defuse the escalating tension. Amidst this, one of the officers, already feeling unwell, excuses himself to the restroom. His discomfort turns to alarm when he encounters a frog placed weirdly on the soap stand. His reflection in the mirror triggers a moment of intense terror, causing him to scream in horror. This sound alarms his colleagues, prompting them to rush to his aid. When they find him, he appears physically unharmed but deeply shaken. He confesses to feeling a momentary loss of sanity, triggered by his reflection in the mirror. After regaining some composure, the group decides it's time to leave the restaurant, setting the stage for the unfolding events of the movie. As the plot progresses, the atmosphere shifts from the unsettling opening to a scene where the group of police officers, previously introduced, find themselves on the road. The tension momentarily lightens as the officers, immersed in a sense of camaraderie, joyfully sing along to a song playing on the radio. This brief moment of joy, however, is abruptly interrupted when one of the officers receives a distress call. The call originates from 𝐂𝐴𝐞𝐤, a neighborhood reputed for its mysterious spirit and numerous haunting tales. As they approach this neighborhood, the radio ceases to function, adding a spooky silence to their journey. In an unexpected and startling moment, a ghostly figure appears on the road, causing the driver to slam on the brakes in alarm. The officers, adrenaline surging, leap out of the vehicle to search for the mysterious figure, but find no trace of him. What they do discover, though, are unexplained scratches on the side of their car and a peculiar pile of small frogs on the road. Despite the unnerving discoveries, they decide to continue their journey. As they drive on, their journey takes a turn for the worse when another figure appears seemingly out of nowhere. In a chaotic sequence of events, they hit the man and subsequently crash their car into a nearby river. In a sudden and disorienting shift, the scene transitions back to the restaurant where the officers were earlier. Arda, one of the officers, is seen sitting with 𝐂𝐴𝐤 at the same table, while the others are gathered around a television. In this setting, Arda recounts a haunting tale from his childhood about a friend who witnessed his father's soul leave his body upon death. He shares a particularly vivid memory of waking up one night to find himself surrounded by a crowd of unfamiliar people, with his childhood friend emerging from the group to offer comfort. This revelation connects Arda to the young boy depicted in the opening scene of the movie, revealing that he is the same person. The story takes an intriguing turn as Arda describes experiencing a dream within a dream, where he awakens to strange noises from his mother's room and encounters a ghostly figure in his bedroom, only to realize it was his childhood friend. This complex layering of dreams and reality adds depth to Arda's character and sets a surreal tone for the events that follow. The story continues to unravel its mysterious narrative as it delves deeper into the protagonist Arda's haunting past. he shares a deeply unsettling experience from his life, one that adds layers to the movie's creepy atmosphere. Arda recalls a peculiar and chilling incident that occurred the day after he had a recurring dream involving his childhood friend. In a strange twist of fate, he learns that his friend tragically died that very night, struck down in a car accident. This event seems to bind Arda to his haunting dreams, which he frequently experiences. Adding to his personal tragedies, Arda reveals that a year later, he lost his parents in a car crash, a traumatic event that left a profound impact on his life. Following this loss, he was taken in and raised by his uncle. As he grew older and joined the police force, he came under the wing of 𝐂𝐤, a close friend of his uncle. 𝐂𝐤, through his guidance and support, became a father figure to the young Arda. The narrative takes a sudden turn when 𝐂𝐤, after listening to Arda's story, inquires if Arda perceives anyone else in the room with them. This moment marks a shift in the movie's tone as Arda, upon looking around, realizes that their fellow officers have mysteriously disappeared. Adding to the surreal and terrifying atmosphere, a figure with a bloody hand emerges from behind 𝐂𝐤. In an intense and visually shocking moment, the room fills with an overwhelming amount of blood, engulfing the scene in horror. This leads to a jarring cut where Arda suddenly snaps back to reality, finding himself in the van as it crashes into the water. This accident signifies a physical manifestation of the hauntings they face. The officers, now outside the van and in the river, realize they are stranded, their vehicle rendered inoperable. In a fortunate twist, they are rescued by some locals. Despite their confusion and disorientation, the officers decide to continue their investigation, compelled to find the man they believe they hit with the car. However, when they return to the site of the accident, they find no trace of the man, despite all of them having witnessed the collision. The locals inform Arda and 𝐂𝐤 that they have already arrived in the 𝐂𝐡𝐞𝐜 neighborhood, the very place from where the distress call originated. The officers, driven by duty and curiosity, proceed to investigate. Their search leads them to an abandoned building that once served as a police station. The creepiness of the scene is palpable as they spot the initial responders' car parked in front of the dark building. The group is visibly unnerved, the unsettling atmosphere of the building amplifying their fears as they prepare to uncover the mysteries that lie within. The tension escalates as the police officers, led by 𝐂𝐤 and Arda, prepare to enter the mysterious building in the 𝐂𝐡𝐞𝐜 neighborhood. In a cryptic exchange, 𝐂𝐤 suggests to Arda that he might be the key to understanding the bewildering events unfolding around them. This hint at a deeper connection between Arda and the ongoing mysteries adds an intriguing layer to the story. Upon entering the building, the officers encounter a distressing scene. A lone police officer, separated from his unit, is found in a state of despair. He is repeatedly banging his head against the wall. His expression is vacant, and he appears lost in his own world of torment. In a haunting gesture, he points towards a police cap lying on the ground, indicating that his fellow officers have vanished without a trace. Further exploration leads the driver officer into a grimy room, where a horrifying sight awaits. The room is divided into stalls, each containing people who are blindfolded, chained, and covered in blood. In a shocking and disturbing revelation, some of these captives appear to be engaged in physical acts with each other. The scene's gruesome nature overwhelms one of the officers, causing him to drop his flashlight in shock. This action triggers a frenzied reaction from the chained individuals, who swarm over him in a terrifying manner. 𝐂𝐤 and the rest of the group continue their journey through the building, stumbling upon a room filled with chains and dripping blood. The horror escalates as another officer discovers a deceased girl in a cage, while Arda comes across a blindfolded woman consuming a carcass and another dissecting a body. The scene is nightmarish, marked by chaos and a palpable sense of evil. In a sudden and violent turn of events, a figure appears and brutally attacks one of the officers with a hammer. This attack throws the group into further disarray, with Arda firing his gun in a panicked state. The chained captives, now unleashed, begin to pursue the remaining officers in a frenzied chase. Amidst this chaos, Arda experiences another surreal vision. He finds himself back in the familiar setting of the restaurant, sitting across from 𝐂𝐤. In this vision, 𝐂𝐤 reveals a chilling truth. It was not a distress call that led them to the building, but rather a supernatural force. 𝐂𝐤 confesses his sensitivity to paranormal phenomena and suggests that Arda is experiencing a similar awakening. This revelation adds a supernatural dimension to the story, deepening the mystery. As the vision fades, the group finds themselves in a new and even more terrifying situation. They awaken to find themselves chained to wooden posts in a dark, dungeon-like room. In the harrowing climax, the police officers are confronted by the mysterious and evil leader of the cult, known as Baba. His entrance is both chilling and ceremonial. This scene sets a foreboding tone, as the officers watch in a mix of fear and disbelief. Baba's appearance becomes even more disturbing as he removes his robe, revealing a bald figure with a grotesquely deformed face. Addressing the captive officers, he chillingly welcomes them to his chamber. He then shares a sinister philosophy with them, declaring that hell is not a physical location but rather a torment that one carries within. He proclaims that these officers have been chosen by hell itself, and that he and his cult, who revel in pain and suffering, are there to shepherd them through unimaginable horrors. The brutality of the situation becomes shockingly real when Baba turns his attention to one of the weaker officers. In a gruesome display of cruelty, he tears open the officer's shirt and, using his nails, dismembers him. The scene is horrifying as the officer's intestines spill out, leading to his death. Following this act, a cult follower unchains the officer's lifeless body, which is then taken away by other cultists. Baba then remarks that death is not the end for their victims. Instead, they are condemned to a perpetual cycle of pain and torture. The focus then shifts to 𝐂𝐿, one of the more defiant officers. In a ritualistic and horrifying manner, Baba chants in an unknown language and proceeds to blind 𝐂𝐿 with a knife, stabbing his eyes repeatedly in a gruesome act. This is followed by a follower placing a blindfold on 𝐂𝐿. The horror escalates as a naked woman wearing a goat mask emerges from a closet and crawls towards 𝐂𝐿. In a disturbing ritual, 𝐂𝐿 is forced into an intimate encounter with her as part of his initiation into the cult. Baba, observing the scene, coldly notes that 𝐂𝐿's heart and mind are still closed to their beliefs. In a final ghastly turn of events, 𝐂𝐿 suddenly convulses and collapses to the ground, lifeless. A spider eerily creeps out of his mouth, a symbol of the dark and twisted world of the cult. The spider is then collected by a cult follower, signifying the end of 𝐂𝐿's horrifying nightmare and marking another chilling chapter in the cult's ritualistic practices. In the gripping finale, the narrative reaches its climax as Baba, the cult leader, turns his sinister focus towards Arda. However, 𝐂𝐤, displaying a protective instinct, intervenes, arguing that Arda is just a young boy and should be spared. Baba briefly touches Arda's head in a moment, then shifts his attention to 𝐂𝐤, who bravely accepts his impending fate. Baba expresses gratitude to 𝐂𝐤 for taking care of Arda, implying that Arda is now prepared to embrace his destiny. In a brutal and chilling act, Baba slashes 𝐂𝐤's throat with a knife, indulging in a scary ritual as he bathes in 𝐂𝐤's blood. This violent act further cements the cult's cruel and atrocious nature. The story then takes a surreal turn as Arda is plunged into another vision. He witnesses a dying 𝐂𝐤 on the floor of the restaurant, the same setting they were in earlier. Rushing to 𝐂𝐤's side, Arda is overwhelmed with emotion. With his final breaths, 𝐂𝐤 reveals that he had promised Arda's uncle to protect him. He then entrusts Arda with a metaphorical key, symbolizing the passing of responsibility and destiny onto Arda. In a symbolic gesture, Arda retrieves a key from 𝐂𝐤's throat and uses it to stab Baba in the forehead. Breaking free from his chains, Arda confronts his tormentor with fierce resolve. He exacts his revenge on Baba by brutally smashing his head. This act of defiance and vengeance sends a wave of fear through the cult followers. The scene shifts as Arda makes a desperate escape from the building. He navigates through the woods, covered in blood, and eventually stumbles onto the road. In a frantic attempt to flag down an oncoming vehicle, Arda's realization dawns too late. The vehicle is the same van that he and his fellow officers were in earlier. In a shocking revelation, Arda understands that he was the man who caused the initial crash. The movie concludes with a harrowing scene as the van strikes Arda, mirroring the accident from earlier. The van then swerves into the river, symbolizing a terrifying cyclical fate. This ending suggests that the characters are trapped in a time loop, endlessly reliving their pain and torture as believed by the cult. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next one. Fear awaits you.